Something happened to you in this moment. Maybe you don't have words for it yet, but something inside you stirred, and I came to tell you what it was. You feel that this date, this 25th of June, carries a different weight, an expectation that doesn't come from the clock, but from the spirit. There is an urgency in the air that no one around you seems to notice, yet you feel it beating in your chest every time the day begins. What I'm about to say is not for everyone listening. It is for you who has felt heaven drawing near in a way almost tangible, as if a door were about to open before 11 at night. By the end of this message, you will recognize the signs that have been appearing in your life and what they truly mean for your next cycle. You will understand why your effort has felt like a plow in dry soil and what decree needs to be made now to align your life with what has already been prepared for you. Before we finish, I will speak a declaration of identity directly over your path, and I believe that is the exact reason this message reached you at this precise moment. You have been feeling a restlessness that has no name. It is a sense of waiting for something you cannot define, yet you know with absolute certainty that it is coming. You have been waking at the same hour, feeling a sudden emptiness in conversations that once made sense, and sometimes noticing sequences of numbers that seem to whisper a message you are still trying to translate. You have been tired, not from work, but from a waiting that feels endless. I want you to know that tiredness is not weakness, it is calibration. Your soul is adjusting to a new frequency, clearing out the noise of the voices that told you who you should be, so that you can finally hear who you really are. You have been trying to force windows open, while what you seek is waiting for you to simply ask for the right key. Take a deep breath with me. Let that perception settle in your chest. If at least one of these signs touched you, if your shoulders dropped at any point in the last few minutes, type the number 888 in the comments. Your fingers typing those numbers are your spirit saying yes to the recognition that has just been made. It is the smallest agreement, but it is real, a seal of acceptance for the revelation. Attention! You need to prepare yourself now. I have prepared material for those who doubt their own calling from God and still do not have confirmation. Are you one of the chosen? We'll give you that clarity. These are the 7 signs of the language of the calling, marks of God in the story of every chosen one, so you can reread your story and recognize the purpose sealed over you before the foundation of the world. Stop calling coincidence what is actually a calling. Stop silencing the sacred restlessness. Stop postponing the answer you feel. Your window is closing, and a chosen one who does not recognize the calling does not walk in purpose. More than 10,000 people have already read the 7 signs and received the conviction they had been seeking for years. They were just like you. They felt something no one understood. They lived in silent doubt, and they discovered it was real. And it had a name. The offer is open only this month. Access the link in the pinned comment now, before doubt steals another year from your calling, for the revelation being delivered today. Type 888 and come back to me. Beneath that restlessness lies a pattern you repeat without realizing. You have been operating as if you still need to prove your worth to an audience that was never paying attention. You pull ropes that are no longer attached to anything, spending precious energy on cycles that should have already ended. The diagnosis is clear. You are confusing faithfulness with exhaustion. You believe that if you are not suffering for what you desire, you are not doing enough. But what you seek will not come through the sweat of insistence, but through the alignment of unlearning. Imagine a tree whose roots try to grow in soil, compacted by the fear of past generations. The roots are there, deep and strong, but they were taught to seek water where nothing remains but stone and dust. Your story is not a mistake. It is the preparation for the blossoming that now, on this date, finds its way out. The courtyard you inhabit is vast, but you have spent all your time looking at the ground, afraid to take the first step beyond the line of shadow that was imposed on you. If something inside you just sealed, if the image of that tree or that courtyard fell into a place you cannot explain, type the words I see in the comments. Let the recognition seal where it has just landed. The act of typing those words makes the witness permanent in your own record. Type and come back to me. If something in this message confirmed what your spirit already knew, let your like be your amen, without words. Not as a metric, but as an agreement that what was named here was named correctly. The solution is not in another task, another frantic search, or another attempt to control the future. The solution is the return. It is the moment you stop fighting the current and allow the current itself to carry you to the place of rest that was already prepared. Imagine you are setting down a heavy burden you have carried for years, a burden that was never yours. You do not have to carry the world for the world to receive you. You only need to be ready to let go. There is someone in your life, someone whose face just appeared in your mind as I spoke, who needs exactly this message. Think of that person who strives harder than everyone around them, yet remains in deep silence, holding a posture no one sees. Someone who is exhausted from waiting for a door that seems stuck. Send this to that person. Not as a recommendation, but as a delivery, a notice that they do not have to continue alone. Before this ends, type the words, I am the chosen one, in the comments. Not as a wish, not as a hope, but as a confirmation. The agreement that has been forming in silence between heaven and your hearing is an agreement you will live from for the rest of this season. Type slowly. Let your fingers do what your spirit is already doing. You have been striving harder than the people around you, and still the door has not opened. There is a reason. What you are living today, on this Thursday, is the mark of a time that is not measured by ordinary clocks. By the end, you will recognize the signs that have been appearing in your life, and what they truly mean. You will understand the pattern that blocked what you so desire, and you will receive the declaration that will change your trajectory. There are waves of emotion that come without warning, conversations that once made sense now sound hollow, and a silent certainty that something has shifted, even if the scenery around you looks the same. It is the smallest agreement, but it is real. Now we need to look at what lies beneath. You have felt stuck because you have been trying to open doors with keys that no longer fit. You operate under the pattern of believing that merit comes from exhaustion, that recognition comes from carrying the world on your shoulders. But the truth is that you have confused your faithfulness with your exhaustion. You are pulling ropes that are no longer attached to anything. Your effort, though noble, has been directed toward an audience that was never paying attention. The diagnosis is simple. You are trying to keep alive a cycle that time itself has already closed. Imagine the tree that spends months in deep winter. Beneath the ground, where no one sees, the roots are deepening, seeking sources of water that were hidden until the drought forced the tree to search deeper. What you lived through was not a setback, it was preparation. Your story is not a succession of mistakes, it is a root system that needed to strengthen to support what is about to bloom. A tree does not rush to bear fruit. It surrenders to the timing of the soil. Your inner courtyard, which seemed empty and forgotten, is actually the ground that was cleared for the new season. Take a deep breath with me. Sit with that for a moment. Let it settle in the part of you that has waited longest to hear this. Type and come back to me. You no longer need to fight the current, because the current has changed direction, and now it pushes you exactly toward the place of rest that was already prepared. But there is one thing almost no one understands about this return, and the deepest layer is the next one we enter, because unlearning is the key that opens the lock you yourself placed on your own path. Unlearning is a movement of open hands. You spent years closing your fingers around your certainties, around the fear of losing control, and around the obligation to be the support of everything around you. But the decree that presents itself now is not something you build with your own hands. It is something you allow to happen. The solution is not to add another goal to your list, not to seek a new technique or a new way to pray. The solution is the return to the silence that existed before you decided you had to be strong all the time. Unlearning the weight is recognizing that your faithfulness is not in the load you carry, but in the clarity with which you see your own essence. Stripped of all the roles the world imposed on you, you receive the new decree when you realize that the door that seemed closed was only the reminder that your path is different. There is someone in your life who needs exactly this message now. Take a deep breath with me. Hold that face that just appeared in your mind as I spoke. It is that person who has been striving harder than everyone around them and still sees the door closed. Someone who walks in silence in a way no one around can explain. Someone who carries a tiredness in silence that can no longer be hidden behind smiles. Send this to that person, not as a recommendation, but as a delivery. Just as it reached you, by a warning that came not through the eyes but through the spirit, let the act of sharing be your act of service on this journey. You carry a question that no one around you has been able to answer, and that is why this moment is so definitive. The title that brought you here, mentioning this specific day, and the window that opens until 23:11, is not an ordinary invitation. It is a warning. There is a configuration in the heights that converges right now, and you feel it as a gentle pressure, a certainty that the waiting time has reached its limit. By the end, you will recognize the signs that have been repeating in your life. You will understand the pattern that has blocked your progress, and above all, you will receive the declaration that explains why this message found you. You have been feeling sudden waves of emotion without a clear reason. You have noticed conversations that were once nourishing now sounding hollow, as if you were on a different frequency from those walking beside you. You wake, often near 3 in the morning, with your spirit alert, as if there were a pending task. It is the smallest agreement, but it is real. 888 is the frequency of overflow, the marker that what was contained now begins to spill over the edges of your reality. You have been striving, pulling ropes that are no longer attached to anything, confusing your physical exhaustion with faithfulness to a purpose. You have operated for a long time, as if you were in an audience that was never paying attention. The diagnosis is this: you have applied your hunger in the wrong place. There is a root in you, a system of beliefs inherited from a lineage that had to survive through scarcity, and that root is trying to protect you from abundance because it has not yet recognized that the storm has passed. You do not need to build a new life. You need to unlearn the weight you were convinced to carry. If something inside you just sealed, if the revelation about that root fell into a place you cannot explain, type the words "I see" in the comments. Type and come back to me. You are on the threshold of a surrender. The decree you seek is not something you build with your own hands, but something you receive by softening your resistance. Let your like be that movement of surrender, a sign that you are ready for what enters now. Take a deep breath with me. Send this to that person. Perhaps the words are still forming in your mind, but the certainty that something has changed is undeniable. You have been feeling a pressure, a kind of urgency that does not originate from your clock or your daily worries. You have been striving harder than the people around you, doubling the load, seeking answers in paths that seemed solid, and still, the door that should open remains apparently locked. There is a clear reason for this. It is not failure, not lack of deserving, nor a delay of destiny. It is preparation for the decree that is being drawn in the now. You will understand, by the end of this transmission, the 3 signs that indicate your waiting cycle has ended. You will recognize the single pattern of behavior that has blocked your flow of blessings, and why today that barrier falls. And more importantly, you will hear the declaration that needs to seal what is about to happen in your life in the next hours. Breathe deeply. Let the air fill your chest as you recognize the signs that have been appearing on your path in recent days. You have been waking at the same hour in the early morning, with your mind suddenly clear, as if you were being called to an invisible appointment. You have noticed that conversations that were once enjoyable now sound hollow, devoid of substance, as if your frequency has shifted to a level where ordinary noise can no longer reach. You have noticed repeated numbers appearing on signs, on clocks, on records that should have no connection to you. And that repetition is not coincidence. It's a form of communication. It is the smallest agreement, but it is real. It is your way of saying that you recognize the frequency of the overflow that is approaching. The pattern that has operated in your life is the attempt to carry the world with your own hands, believing that if you stop, everything will crumble. You have lived like someone pulling ropes that are no longer attached to anything, confusing your physical depletion with the measure of your faithfulness. You showed up for an audience that was never paying attention, spending precious energy on scenes that have already fulfilled their role in your story. Behind that pattern, there is an ancient formation, a root that was planted when you had to protect yourself from an environment that did not see your original value. Imagine now a tree whose roots encountered a rock and for generations were forced to grow around that obstacle, losing the original shape but never losing the strength. You are that tree. The pattern of hardness you adopted was your survival, but the rock has now been moved. The soil around you is being turned so that finally your structure can expand without the need for constant defense. If the image of that root-touching fertile soil made something inside you move, if the perception that the rock has been removed fell into a place you cannot explain, type the words, "I am here" in the comments. Let that recognition seal what has just landed in your consciousness. The act of writing those words makes the witness permanent in your own record, consolidating your presence in this new time. Type, and come back to me. If this message confirmed what your spirit already knew, let your like be your amen without words, not as a social media metric, but as a deep agreement that what was named here was named with precision. It is the gesture of one who recognizes the truth and invites it to dwell within. The solution you seek does not require more effort, but an unlearning. You do not need to build the new, you only need to remove the debris that blocks its arrival. The seal of the morning, which you can practice upon waking, is simply silence. Before you put your feet on the floor, tell yourself that you are not responsible for the unfolding of the heavens, only the beneficiary. It is a form of stewardship. Understand that your life is not a project you need to manage, but a harvest you need to allow. The decree that opens now, in this moment of alignment, is the authorization for you to stop fighting currents that have already been cut. You are being called to a place of strategic rest, where the harvest happens without you having to sweat your brow. What stands before you in these next hours is not something you will force to happen, but something you will see manifest as you watch the beauty of what has been prepared. The feeling that something is about to change is not a coincidence, but an anticipation. There is someone in your life, someone whose face just arose in your mind as I spoke, who needs to hear exactly these words. Perhaps it is that person who has been striving silently, carrying a weight that no one else sees, maintaining a posture of strength while the interior cries out for a moment of truce. That someone is exhausted from fighting doors that seem sealed, not knowing that the waiting time is coming to an end. Send this to that person now, not as advice, but as a delivery, a notice that they are not abandoned on this walk. Sometimes the greatest act of care we can offer is the confirmation that the pain someone carries in secret has finally been recognized by a voice that does not judge, only witnesses. Before we reach the close of this moment of revelation, type the words, "I am the chosen one," in the comments. Not as a fleeting wish, nor as a distant hope. Type it as a confirmation that the agreement forming in silence between heaven and your hearing is a covenant you will live from for the rest of this season. Feel each letter your fingers form on the screen. Let that gesture transform what was only hearing into a commitment sealed with your own identity. You have carried the weight of an expectation that sometimes borders on exhaustion. But this is the moment to loosen the reins. The revelation contained in this day is not to be understood by logic, but to be assimilated by the Spirit. What is written for these hours, especially on this Thursday, is an invitation for you to stop questioning the delay and begin contemplating the readiness. There is a deeper layer where what is decreed in the heavens meets the earth, and that layer reveals itself now before your eyes as evidence that you have not been forgotten in the process. You have been feeling a restlessness that finds no rest in ordinary distractions. It is as if, every time the clock points to certain hours, a silent reminder echoes inside you, a call to something you still cannot define, but feel pulsing. These signs, this precision in the moments, all of it is part of a calibration. Your fingers typing those digits are your spirit saying yes to this new season. It is a silent pact, a mark that you are attentive to what is being moved. The pattern that has kept you stuck is the habit of trying to solve with your hands what can only be solved with permission. You have strived, you have been faithful, you have carried the stones, but the time of harvest does not depend on the strength of your arm, but on obedience to the time of planting. Imagine a tree whose roots encountered a deep rock. You have been trying to push the tree sideways, thinking the problem is the soil, when in fact the rock is there only to force your roots to grow deeper, ensuring that when the storm passes, you not only remain standing, but flourish. Your story is not a detour, it is the meticulous preparation for a firmness that no one will be able to shake. If that image of the root strengthening itself at the base of the rock made something inside you seal, if the revelation landed exactly where your soul needed, type the words, "I am here," in the comments. Let the recognition fix your place. Type and come back to me, not as a metric but as a deep agreement that what was named here was named with precision. The seal you carry upon waking is simply silence. It is a form of stewardship. Send this to that person now. You are committed. You are sent. You are being led. Right now, all over the world, other people are receiving this same recognition, awakening to the truth that human effort meets its limit where providence begins to act. You are part of something that does not announce itself with noise, but with the quietness of one who has finally understood their own place. Attention! You need to prepare yourself now. I have prepared material for those who doubt their own calling from God and still do not have confirmation. Are you one of the chosen? We'll give you that clarity. These are the 7 signs of the language of the calling, marks of God in the story of every chosen one, so you can reread your story and recognize the purpose sealed over you before the foundation of the world. Stop calling coincidence what is actually a calling. Stop silencing the sacred restlessness. Stop postponing the answer you feel. Your window is closing, and a chosen one who does not recognize the calling does not walk in purpose. More than 10,000 people have already read the 7 signs and received the conviction they had been seeking for years. They were just like you. They felt something no one understood. They lived in silent doubt, and they discovered it was real. And it had a name. The offer is open only this month. Access the link in the pinned comment now before doubt steals another year from your calling.